After playing a class for a while, you kind of begin to pick up on some of the lesser known tricks. I myself play a lot of medic, and over time I've managed to catch a couple of tidbits and rules of thumb that I've learned through the greatest teacher of all, getting my ass kicked. So here are the secret medic tricks, useful miscellaneous advice that I've learned that you won't find in most guides, and also advice I haven't been able to cram anywhere else. You'll see that whenever I'm playing, I end up using the Z3 go 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 voice command a lot. I do this not only to encourage my team to push forward, but also using it often makes my Uber masking a lot less conspicuous. At this point, I do it almost subconsciously, if not to mask my Uber, but to let my team know where I am. There will be moments where you want to keep your German trap shut though, because God forbid you open it and give away your position. The last thing you want is for the other team to be playing Marco Polo with you. When attempting to cross sniper sight lines and you happen to have a pocket, let him go first and disable your meta beam. Wait for a few moments, then cross. Most snipers will assume you've gone off to try a less risky route, or at least get impatient and will switch their focus somewhere else for the time being, giving you just enough of a window of an opportunity to bunny hop away. Of course, this is where map knowledge plays in hand, because if an Australian is breaking the norm and being smart for once, he'll sometimes know the map well enough to tell that the only way out is past him and just wait for you. Disabling your heal beam when you're cornered like a girl at a Magic the Gathering convention can at least make you daring to cross unpredictable. That's all you can do at that point. Just hope he misses. Just cross your fingers. If you ever get the chance, Crits Creek charge a fucking demo night. Damage-wise, melee weapons are the most consistent and are affected by the least number of factors, meaning that you're pretty much guaranteed 195 damage. The swords in TF2 have ranges bigger than Rule 34, so not only do the shields let the demo man charge and scream like his welfare check is late, they offer significant damage resistance and therefore better survivability for your patient. Not only that, but every kill gives him faster run speed and higher health, which thanks to the metaguns, you can match and replenish. The only thing you have to watch for are those right-click happy Pyros who will just absolutely ruin it. In setup time, you can build an Uber in about 13 seconds and deplete it in 4 with quick flashing. Make sure that you don't use any Ubers past 15 seconds left. That way you'll have at least one for when the doors open. It's not really that important. I just felt like adding it just in case you want some pre-round Ubers for extra points before the match starts. Nothing like an early lead, huh? Always overcompensate your crossbow lead with far away or fast moving targets. They're covering a lot more ground than you think, and the crossbow dart is a lot slower than you think. So it's best to be generous with your leading when you're trying to hit scouts or rocket jumping soldiers. It's important to keep your weapons handy. If you haven't already, turn on fast weapon switch and use the numbers above WASD to switch weapons. What I will usually do is press 2 for the metagun, 1 for the crossbow, and then back to 2 for the metagun. This means I can press the last weapon button to cycle to the crossbow, fire quickly, and then switch back to the metagun. When I'm down on my luck and it's up to the Ubersaw to save me, it's only a 3 press away. If I'm lucky enough to make it out with my ass in one piece afterwards, I repeat the 2-1-2 process until I have the crossbow back on the last weapon spot. I also can't emphasize how important fast weapon switch and the number buttons are. Any good player will tell you that selecting a weapon like this is slower than Amish NASCAR, and to respond quickly enough with your weapon switch, pressing the corresponding numbers is infinitely faster. So do yourself a favor, break up with your scroll wheel and use that number keys instead. Always play medic on Granary. That's it. That's all that one is. Just move it on. Sometimes you'll find yourself on a team with more than one medic. Just remember that when 2 medics are healing the same target, the rate at which you build Uber drops in half. One of you using the crossbow to heal and the other one using the metagun lets you regenerate health a lot faster and get to buffs much quicker. The tandem is pretty powerful in large groups. Plus, it's also worth giving the medic a buff as well. The crossbow is fantastic for spy checking. If the arrow hits and you see health or the hit is just quiet, he's clean, he's fine. You were gonna have to heal him anyway. If you fire and hear the crossbow hit sound, however, it's a spy and it's officially time to panic. If you have someone chasing you down and there's nobody around to help, you can always try going for what I like to call the red light. Ding! Basically, if you know that the class that you're running away from is at least sitting at 130 health, whether they just came out of a fight or your crossbow helped put them there, run past the corner and hide behind it. You just sit there and wait. And when they finally round that corner, you jump out like a retarded jack-in-the-box and stab like a psycho. If you get lucky, you can land a saw or two on them, hopefully finishing them off. Fingers crossed. I'm not going to pretend this always works because it depends heavily on who you're fighting and most likely will never work for you ever. But there's a slight chance. Because the red light is at its core a pretty big desperation move, and all you're really doing is closing the gap between you and your rent collector. So do not use this unless you're absolutely sure there's no chance you getting away. You know, it just occurred to me that you're probably all wondering why I call it a red light. It's partly because it makes people stop at the intersection, but it's primarily because the red light district is where most people who stand on corners make their money. Have one of those pesky back scratcher pyros on your team? Use them to farm your Uber faster. Healing them lets you charge at max rate for a much longer period of time. If you actually have to give them health, use your crossbow instead. The healing penalty does not affect the 90 plus health that darts give people. Ubering into a control point will help you secure it from the other team, but you can't cap while you're Uber charged with the quick fix or the stock. You don't need to wait for the charge to fade in order to capture. Switch to your crossbow or your Uber saw to disable it faster. Heavies require the least amount of healing to be functional. He has a huge health pool, so unless he's under direct fire, he should be fine. Just let him go. Heal or buff the rest of your team and then help the heavy. If he's really low, crossbow him if you have to. He's a fat, slow-moving target, so he should be easier to hit than an ugly stepchild. But even at half his health, he still has more than the rest of your team. So if the heavy's hurt, prioritize who needs the buffs and heals first, then get to him. He can take the hits, I promise. Never be afraid to get the fuck out. Some players are a little over-aggressive, and staying on them is most likely going to get one of you killed, especially you. Particularly when you have an Uber charge that's fading, if you can see the cold hands of death closing in on you from the form of a sentry your patient somehow hasn't destroyed yet, get out while you still can. So when a teammate overextends, ditch them if you have to. The rest of your team is worth a lot more than their ego. Never let assholes discourage you. Everyone has a different opinion on how to play medic, especially in pubs. Just because some idiot is yelling at you because you didn't pocket them the entire time, don't pay him much mind. You need to find the type of playstyle that fits you. Medic is a difficult class to play. If it wasn't, they'd call it soldier. So experiment and see what works for you. Don't stop healing for more than 3 seconds. If you're going for a crossbow shot or Uber saw kill, that's fine. But unless you can pull off whatever pathetic stuff unrelated to healing you're trying to do within that handful of seconds, it's time to give up. Unless you're actively fighting, never full buff. If you're using the quick fix, you don't really need to worry about this at all, but in moments when you aren't under any sort of direct fire, refrain from full buffing your teammates in order to keep the build rates up on your metagun. Once your target hits 142% health, the Uber charge rate gets cut in half. So by juggling your teammates in a way that keeps their health under that threshold, you can keep your build rates at maximum. Personally, I like to beef up my teammates to about 15 to 20 points lower than their 150% buff. So after I switch to someone else, their health will have faded enough by that time that I come back to them, I can heal them again at full charge rate. Of course, crit heals can kind of complicate that a little bit, but smart teammates will usually reset the timer for you just so you can keep those max build rates. Also worth mentioning, the classes who aren't going to be around you for long, like scouts, probably could use a full buff before they leave. When you're around any class with more than 150 health, juggle them to keep your building rate at maximum. If I've been alive for more than, 0.4 seconds, it's pretty likely there's going to be some candy canes flying. I'm a huge fan of Crossbow Spam, and I think that in heated situations it can really tilt the scales. The best part is, whether it's your team you're hitting or the enemy, you're still doing something. So make sure you spam whenever you get the chance. Just bear in mind that those bolts missing means you can pick up ammo boxes, and especially around NGs, you are the worst thing ammo boxes could go to. If you can help it, pick up the health and leave the ammo for someone who needs it, because you sure as hell don't. I have never in my life run out of ammo for the crossbow, and if you have, it's probably safe to assume you're doing something wrong. So don't worry about your ammo, you got plenty, just leave it. Leave it for someone else. For me, the threshold of health that dictates whether or not I stick around is 110. If I get hit by something that takes me down to anything lower than that, I go for a med kit or I have a picnic. It's critical to keep your health at least above 100 because there's a huge number of things that can finish you off at that or anything less. 110 is enough to survive a direct pipe and also enough to survive a medium range rocket, so if anything it gives you time to react to whatever's trying to gun you down. If you're gonna die, do it and do it quick. Respawn times suck, and on teams where you being alive makes all the difference, the sooner you can start that respawn clock, the better. This doesn't have too much value in casual considering the team's a mess with or without you, but in tighter matches or competitive, you're pretty much outgunned by every single class. Why drag out your death like a hammy actor with a speech impediment when you can go for the uber saw and pray you come out on top? So if most of your team is 6 feet under and you're not sure if you can survive, just get it over with so you can spawn with your team. I guarantee you it'll make the difference. So, that's it. From the things I do that make me look stupid to the tidbits that will actually help you become better. So, I regret to inform you that you have just sat through an entire ArraySeven video, and I thank you for your patience.
I'm the invincible, undefeated champion. Mount Zion's my ancestors can't rely on. Star of David, nah, the thought of stardom. Martyrdom and done crumbs left to the dumb thumb. To this play button, glutton of words, mud.